My name is Brandy Schmidt. I'm a current USAA customer, and I have a claim with them that they have mishandled, that they are putting under mold instead of water damage when there was no mold in our home. My issue stems with USAA and a homeowners claim that we had. We had catastrophic storms here in Maryland, March of 2018, and we filed a claim. I immediately reported it to USAA at the time that it happened. And a lady with the vehicle department took my claim. She was in training and did not have a license with USAA. So she ended up putting my claim under a vehicle loss instead of a homeowner's claim. And so it didn't show that I had reported all my water damage to it. And I have that too. And you can see that it even says vehicle loss. I don't know if you can see it, but it says vehicle loss even here. And it's a homeowner's claim. So then they had an inspector come out that looked at my roof and everything, and they replaced the entire roof. They just now, 2 days ago, after 2 years, issued the final payment to my roofer. And they're supposed to do it within a 15-day period of time. I have multiple people's information in my claim. I don't want to have it to where their information is shown, but you can kind of see that this isn't me, but I don't want to show it like his signature or anything, but it's somebody from Texas. And I was actually able to find him through just the information that they had. So, that to me is a breach of information that shouldn't be in someone else's claim. And then I also have someone else's with my same last name, and they were paying out on their claim, under my claim, under fungus, wet, or dry rot. I didn't have fungus, wet, or dry rot in my home. So they told me that I was limited to fungus, wet, or dry rot of $15,000. I didn't have it. So they said it was it was in the air. I had no visible mold in my house with the water damage. And so these are like my labs, and it shows no mold in my house. So it's clearly labeled at the top, control. I mean, these are like the molds, and then it says control, and it gives you the levels. And then this is the inside of my house. The adjuster flip-flopped these so that it would show mold. And so she put this as my inside and that as the outside. She later admitted her mistake, but they've never fixed anything. They limited my ALE due to this $15,000. They limited my pack out on my house due to $15,000. My house has been sitting now for almost 2.5 years, because it was March 2nd of 2018 that this happened. So none of our ALE is being paid. We can't go home. We've had 2 Christmases now that's had to be in a hotel. We have lost 2 of our guinea pigs and 1 of our dogs that got sick. And it came out that it was due to the debris and dust and just like everything in the house. We ended up with rashes on our bodies, and respiratory issues. We're just extremely ill. And we have 1 animal right now that's still extremely ill, having to go to the vet, and it's going to have nasal cleaning of the nostrils. They put us, finally, I was able to get a hold of someone at USAA in October of 2018 that then put us into an emergency hotel room until they could send an adjuster out to say whether it was water or whether it was mold. Right before, 2 days before he was going to come, Susan Wells was our adjuster, and she made us go back into the home. She said, I'm sorry that you guys are getting sick. I'm sorry your animals are getting sick, but you've hit your limit. You've got to go back into your home. Well, we had to figure out what to do, so we had to go back into the house. We were in the house no more than 3 days, and I got so deathly ill, I don't even remember a lot of that time. My kids packed us up, and we went back home to Texas with our family. And then we were able to come back here in December once we found a hotel that would allow us to have our animals. If ALE Solutions would have been able to handle everything, they have houses and different stuff that they put you in while your home is being fixed. We have unlimited coverage in ALE, and we have the best policy that you can buy through USAA. It was a premium policy. So when we submitted our estimate for the water damage, she then sent us a message back saying that she did the estimate, created herself a job site ID, and we were just like, unbelievable, because this is an adjuster, a desk adjuster. They shouldn't have that ability to do that. Well, then with her estimate, She would not approve all the water damage. She did it based on when she believed mold would have began to grow. But again, we already established there's no mold in my house, you know? And we went over this and over this and over this with this lady, and she just ignored it. And they said they never received these labs that I showed you. They were sent to them in June of 2018. They said over and over again, even CEOs said over and over again, that they did not have these labs. We went to a hearing with the insurance administration here in Maryland, and they submitted these labs as evidence, and they submitted it as an exhibit saying that they had had it all along since June of 2018. And that's when they reversed them so that it would look like we had mold. So our family continues to suffer. It was an executive order by the state of Maryland that was issued during that storm, putting us in a state of emergency at the time. Storms hit back to back after that. So right after this storm hit, and we're talking 60, 70 mile an hour winds at this time, it was the worst they had seen. We had a snow and ice storm. So, I mean, it was just like bam, bam, bam. And then that whole season, we ended up with snowstorms, ice storms, and everything. My contractor asked them if they needed to tarp my roof. They didn't want to tarp my roof. My house is pretty big, and so it's about 6,000 square feet of roof. And they said there was no need to tarp it. So, you know, all I can do is prevent further damage from the inside. I'm 100% disabled. And my husband has to leave a lot for work, so it just left me there. And that's why I called in professionals. That's why I called USAA to let them know. So when they decided, okay, now we figured out they don't have any mold in their house, they still have never changed it to this day. And they still have never changed putting lower components like engineered wood flooring versus hardwood select premium hardwood flooring. And that's a big difference. I mean, you're talking maybe 30, 40,000 there. And she had said, all you have to do is call in. Well, I called in, I let them know you've got the wrong insulation, you've got all this. My package shows I have premium, above average, everything in my house. And they said they were standing by this adjuster's decision to leave it all under mold. I've had 63 adjusters at one point or another on this claim. I have looked up all their licenses. Some of their licenses are expired. Some of them didn't even exist. They were in training. They shouldn't even been doing anything with it. So it's just ended up this big mess, and it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, and nothing is being done. And my family continues to suffer. And my son had to spend junior and senior year and graduate in a hotel. My dogs aren't able to play on their land. And we are so desperate to this point just to get our story out there, because I have reached out to so many other people who have said, I'm going through this exact same thing. And it's all with catastrophic events, large homes that cost them a large amount of money. But we continue to pay our premiums. We have to continue to make our house payments. You have to continue to leave your utilities on even, or they'll call it that your house is abandoned. But then they put you in this financial state of how are you supposed to continue to do this? So I even have on here where they will say stuff like, this claim has not been handled correctly. And that's what it says, this claim has not been handled correctly. And it's like, okay, you know you haven't handled the claim correctly. You know now, by evidence, there's no mold. Their adjusters had said no mold. Why are we still being held under this limit? They said you're covered if it was water damage. It was under a roof leak because the wind created an opening. That is a covered loss. And so it's Cat 3 water. And they have never, we protected our home the best we could. We have bought blowers. We have bought dehumidifiers. We bought the heaters to try to, you know, dry everything out, to the point that even the hygienist said, you know, that the ductwork and all that had to be taken out because of the air conditioning system, and it was flex duct. So there's no air conditioning, no heating. The garage is open to the house from where they had approved the first estimate, but didn't label it properly is what this boiled down to. And then they were still saying that my home was habitable with no heat, no electricity, and open to the outside. So we had to put tarps up and everything to protect it, to the point that my husband finally gutted the entire house, what wasn't already done, just to protect it to the point that it is now. So the house is completely gutted at this point. And we can't get anybody's attention. Nobody will listen. They won't even listen at USAA. And I don't understand it, because it's like, you said I have coverage as long as I proved I had no mold, and I prove it. We've been sick from this, but we don't know where to go from here. Nobody is really listening to us, and they have even paid out, which this I don't know if I can show that one or not, but there's stuff like Worley claims on my claim. I've never had them before. I've called these people and asked them, and they're like, we don't have your claim. I don't know why they're putting us as being paid out on your claim. I had a food spoilage claim from 2017 that they put on this claim. I have someone else's also, their insurance administration, I guess. Maybe it's California. I don't know. It starts with a CA. Their information was also in my file, and they sent my policy to them, and they happen to have the same last name. So it's like, are those people getting paid out by my policy? I don't know. But ALE Solutions, they'll say they put that under mold, and she'll put due to the air. They do not have it under mold. And what they said they paid them was also incorrect. They lied about the amount. It was $600 over what they actually paid. And that put me more at my limit of this $15,000 that they were wanting to hold us to. But again, we had no mold. So ours is just wanting to get our story out there. USAA changes documents. They will do these activity reports, and these activity reports are something that anybody can get their hands on. Anybody that's on your claim can change anything in that report. And the workers have even wrote in and said, no, that's not correct. I didn't write that. I didn't put that in there. And they'll leave it in there. And there was a whistleblower that just came out as well. And I'm very thankful for her, because someone is finally standing up that worked for AllCat and admitted that the manager there was getting them to change, even though they knew that these people were covered. And they're not independent adjusters, because they're actually third-party adjusters, and they're hired by USAA. So we just wanted to get our story out there and let everybody know, they're not alone, and maybe to get USA's attention, maybe to get the higher CEO, Wayne Peacock, now, get his attention to say, hey, this family has really been through a lot, and they shouldn't have had to go through this because they were covered.
How would you estimate your total monetary loss?
We have lost all of our belongings because they refused our pack out as well. Limited it again to that mold that didn't exist. So we're thinking probably about $200,000 for our belongings. We tried to save some of them, and we bought boxes and tubs. We know that right now, to put the house back together, and we hired someone to do an estimate through Xactimate, because that's who they use. And it's about $550,000 right now just to pay, for the house to be repaired and for the gutting and all that had to be done. That doesn't count the utilities, the electric that we've had to pay for the dehumidifiers and blower and all that going all this time. And it doesn't count that $200,000 for our belongings, and that doesn't count our ALE. We submitted ALE for about $65,000 that we've had to pay out, and they still haven't. We never even got a denial letter from USA. Not one denial letter have we ever received from them. So we find that kind of strange as well. So I guess all in all, you're talking about, maybe $900,000 at this point. And that's a lot for someone to have to be out of, because now basically the house is a total loss. If they would have fixed it in the beginning like they should have, it wouldn't have got this bad. But it seems to be a repetitive thing with them and how they handle claims is they want to wait you out to see how long and how far you're going to go to be able to go back home. And that's not right. They should not put families through this.
What is the best solution for you in this situation?
In this situation right now, I can deal with the way that they've treated us later. If they want to deal with that later, that's fine with me. Let's separate it. Let's see what we can do here. But they need to pay what it was going to cost before they put it under this mold that didn't exist. They need to go back in their systems, and they need to make sure that people's privacy is being protected and that it's not being breached like this. They need to train their adjusters to make sure that they know what they're doing and that they have the Xactimate certificates that they need to not go in when a policy clearly states that they have premium flooring or even premium tile, whatever it may be, that they go back and they look at that and not put it as the lowest grade just to save them a dime. To go back to just being there for their customers, like all their commercials say, you know, we'll be with you every step of the way. They haven't been with us every step of the way. They never even told us what to do. They never gave us any contractors that we could possibly use. They didn't give us any of that. So we want to be home by the holidays. You know, we've been begging them. 2 Christmases is enough. And my heart can't take it. I just can't take another Christmas away from home. And they use that kind of stuff against you to try to, you know, get you to settle for less. And we're not going to settle for less. We will fight this all the way we have to fight it, because it's not just for me, it's for other people. I mean, I've heard of a World War II veteran that they did this to, and it was a very similar situation to mine. And it's just not right. So I think my biggest thing is I don't want to do this just for us. Yes, I want to go home, and yes, I want my family to be able to have their home fixed, but I also want to fight for everybody else too. And I want people to see that the laws need to change on this. These insurance companies should not be able to do this to people.
Do you have a message for other customers?
Run as fast as you can. Yes, run as fast as you can. If you already are with USAA and you have a claim with them, make sure that you're getting all the documents. Make sure that you're screenshotting every single one of those messages, because they can be deleted. And make sure that you're documenting every adjuster and, you know, their number that you're speaking to, and just continue to fight. Don't give up, because that's what they want you to do.